I'm Tarot Oracle, and this is part 6 of the complete tarot course. So today we're talking about movement. So movement is fairly interesting. It lots and lots of cards in any deck that you find, they're going to point to movement. So over here we have the Tarot in Wonderland, the Anna K Tarot, and the Druidcraft Tarot trimmed. All right, so let's talk about movement. Movement is basically when you have active motion from one card to the next card. So the boat is moving towards the knight, and the knight is moving towards the boat, or the knight is moving towards this other card over here. So you just have an active movement. Let's look at the different types of movement we have. You can have movement on a boat. So there's one card in every deck that'll have a boat on it, and there's movement in a boat. You'll have several cards that have knights on them, and the knights are moving on a horse. So then you have other cards where they're moving very quickly. So this card would be sort of a slow, methodical movement. So it's not going to be anytime soon that they're moving over here to the next card. This card, however, is going to be a very rapid movement. So if someone's asking about when will this occur, or how interested is this guy in me, or something like that, the guy moving with this card is going to be slower, obviously, to do whatever it is, than this one over here, who's highly interested in moving very quickly. So maybe they want to find out if someone's moving towards a new relationship, if they'd like to start a relationship. Maybe they want to be a little cautious, maybe move a little slower, take it slow into the relationship, or they want to rush in. Maybe they're in between relationships and this is very exciting for them and they're ready to rush in and commit. So you have two different types of movement for that. So that is movement speed. So here we have potential movement, which is the possibility of moving, but sort of displaced at this point. And then we have sort of a slower movement, a boat, and we have several people moving inside of it. So all of these mean different things. Let's look at the Anna K. So here we have movement, but she's carrying something. So that's going to be different than if you're not carrying something. We'll go over that later. Then we have the ubiquitous Fool and his quick movement. So he's moving this way towards the other card. Then we have sort of a down and depressed movement going this way. It's going to be a little slower. And they are carrying stuff, which again we'll go over. It's going to be a quick movement, moving towards here and up. Then we have here, again carrying something, moving. And here moving quickly and carrying something, etc. So more of a defensive movement. And a happy-go-lucky movement with some support. So they have some support. So there's a gap in between, and she's going over there on a thing. So this is the Tarot in Wonderland, and it has tons and tons. Again, here is your Six of Swords boat. And then you have tons of different movement. So let's talk about the different types of movement, and let's go over it using this deck, which has by far the most movement. Of course, any deck will work that is standard Rider-Waite, but again, these three decks are the best ones. So the first type of movement I want to go over is with a horse. And when you have someone on a horse, let's say for example this person, then that is going to be movement with support. So they're supported by something or someone. And as you can see in this particular card, there's someone waving goodbye at it. So if we had let's say a job reading. So they're talking about, all right, I'm leaving one job and I'd like to move to a different job or something like that. There's a lot of fighting, or there's a lot of competition in the job that I'm in. I'd like to move towards another job. So here we have a good reading because we have sort of the concern about money. Looking at money, thinking about money. We have the conflict at work. And then we have the movement away from maybe the job, away from that environment. And the destination, which is going to be over here, is pretty positive. I mean, we have the Queen of Pentacles, we have money, we have good possibilities or something like that. So the job movement may turn out to be pretty good. I mean, fairly good. It's fairly positive so far from here to there. But we do have a slow type movement, sort of a more methodical, slower movement. I know they're sort of coming toward us, but let's say, for example, they're going this way. I mean, it is sort of curved this way. You can argue either way. But you do have support for this. So they're on a horse. That is going to be a supported movement. So somebody from your old job possibly is going to be able to support you getting into the new job. Maybe someone has a lead. Maybe someone has some information, or they know somebody, and you're going to have pretty good luck getting into a new position. So it's going to be a bit of a slow movement. It's not going to be super fast, but there is that possibility of jumping into another job. You could have this, for example, which is another one, jumping into another job, etc. So that would be something that you would have for like slow movement with support. So let's say that we want to get out of this relationship. Relationship is not going very well. So we want to move into another relationship. Now we have a fairly positive outlook here. Again, getting out of this relationship, moving, and again, we have support. So it could be emotional support from a friend, could be support from a family member, it could be financial support. What if you don't have a place to live if you move out and move into this other relationship? So is this other relationship going to provide you the support that you need? Yes, because we have a horse. So again, the horse riding something, riding on something gets you that support. Now again, the Tarot in Wonderland is probably the absolute best deck for card interactions, and which is what we're talking about in my system of card interactions. We have support. So get out your deck and let's go through and sort of find all the cards with horses or supported movement. So this would be one, and tell me what's unique about it in your opinion, what's unique about your card that you found. So get out your deck that has this. So what's unique about this one would be the fact that somebody's saying goodbye. So you have sort of an agreeable parting. You have the support network or the support. Here we have another one. So this one, again, is moving the opposite direction, but we have the supported movement. And what's unique about it is he's carrying something. We'll discuss that in a minute. So let's find a supported movement. So now would a boat be support? Yes, you have supported movement, or you have movement that's being supported because you're being delivered with something. So here's someone carrying something, but he's not riding anything, nor does he have support underneath him. That would not be support. Let's go through here again. We have a supported movement, another one, and another one. We don't have any supported movement. So yeah, go through your deck and find supported movement. What's unique about these? This appears to be sort of a ready for combat. This appears to be very intense. And this one, not only is he carrying anything, but he has a sort of this shield almost. So he's shielded with this makeshift, looks like a cookie pan. So go through yours and see what you got. So now let's talk about group movement. That's basically when you have multiple people on a card moving. So this one has group movement. This one has group movement. This one, we have more than one person moving. And this one as well. So group movement basically means that there could be more than one person involved here. So again, miserable job, not happy with your job or whatever, and you're thinking about moving out and moving towards another job. So in this particular instance, it'd be positive to move out from that job into another job. I mean, there's going to be a good transition period. You not only have support, but there could be other people involved as well. In other words, maybe some other people are wanting to move with you. You know, a job, you may want to listen around. Maybe somebody is talking about leaving as well, so maybe you can team up with them. Maybe they have the contacts, etc. So group movement could mean that there are other people involved, and that could also be people that you're not aware of. So not only do you have that factored in that, maybe there's somebody else involved with it, but it could be somebody that you're not aware of. So you need to start looking around and seeing what type of things are going on. This could apply to relationships as well. Want to leave the lover that you have and go to a new romance or new situation. You definitely want to be aware of others in that situation as well. Maybe there's somebody that is watching you and sort of keeping an eye on you, and you don't want them to find out that you're moving out, or there could be some other factors involved. So it basically means there's something else or someone else involved with this that you need to be aware of. So obviously if you're breaking up and moving to a different relationship, you have 3 people involved minimum, but it just means to be aware of your surroundings, to look out for everyone else and find out if there's a little more complexity to the situation than you had originally thought. So group movement, and again, you can have different types of combinations. We have supported movement and group movement in this case. So definitely something to watch out for on that. So go ahead and go through your cards and find what group movements we have. We have the 6 of Swords, we have the Moon in the Tarot in Wonderland, and let's see, we have a group movement here and a group movement here. So 6 of Swords is always going to be a group movement in the NK. We don't really have a group movement. We just have other people in the scene, but there's only one person moving throughout all these. So go through your deck and find out group movement. What cards do you have and what's unique about it? What's unique about your group moving? Here we have could be a larger group, or it could be some followers. Here we have a group movement that's supported. So check out your deck and let me know what you see. So the next type of movement we have is where you're carrying something, as mentioned before. So you're either carrying something or you're delivering something. So that's going to be a difference, right? If you're carrying something or you're delivering something while moving. So let's take an example. So here we have someone who is getting out of a bad relationship and they're moving towards another relationship. So let's say, let's see. So they were just in a love relationship. They're getting out of it because it was a breakup or it was abusive or something bad happened, and they're moving towards a new relationship. So if the question is this person interested in me? Yeah, they're interested in you, but they're carrying baggage from this other relationship that just broke up, that went bad. They're carrying that baggage into this new relationship. So you sort of have to watch out for that. Do you really want this baggage that's being hauled over from this relationship to this one? Is that something that you're willing to accept or whatever? So that could factor in your decisions on a new love, for example. So now we have a job reading. For example, this person has been out of work for a while, maybe. They're on the bench, they've taken a break. Maybe they haven't worked in a long time, sort of like in IT, to where you're on the bench and you're not working for a while. So maybe they're a contractor or whatever, so you have a situation where they're inactive and they're moving into this new job. So you have to ask yourself, do you want someone that's been inactive? Do you want someone that's been on the bench kind of thing coming into your work? Are they going to be a good productive worker? Are they going to maybe waste a lot of time once they get to the job or something like that? So they're carrying that with them. They're carrying that inactivity maybe, or something to that effect. So there's definitely some baggage, not really baggage maybe, but maybe they're carrying something else, something unexpected into this new job, and it could be a big waste of your time. So sort of a job reading. So you have to figure out, what are they carrying, or what is the load that's coming from one card to the next, because you do have movement. Not only that, but there's something extra involved that you have to watch out for, and that something is being brought from here to there. So it's one of those things where you have an extra factor in the cards, and it makes it exciting for a reading, right? Because you have that extra baggage involved, or you have that extra thing involved, or whatever. So go through your cards and find out what cards do you have where we have movement and some extra stuff being carried. So here we have maybe some extra stuff being carried. Here we don't. Look at the different things. Maybe we have it carrying in a defensive style or whatever. So look at some of your cards and figure out what movement cards do you have where they're carrying something. So one question I had a lot of times, well, two questions. One, can you do reversals? And I encourage reversals with movement, especially because they move to the opposite end, right? So here we have somebody that's leaving one relationship and they're moving to a new relationship. But if we turn it right side up, now we have somebody that's sort of leaning towards the old relationship versus the new relationship. So it's important when we have directionality on that. So another thing that has been asked before is, does direction matter all of that much with card interactions and movement? And the answer is yes and no. I would say most of the time, the direction that they're going when they move is important. For example, here, would they prefer the old relationship versus a new relationship? And the answer is going to be yes. So if you completely ignore her direction, you could have a situation to where now she's moving from an old relationship to a new relationship. So you could have that possibility. I mean, in some of these decks, you do have situations to where almost everybody is moving in one direction. Well, not these, but there's other decks to where everybody is moving to the left or everybody's moving to the right. There's two ways to deal with that. One is to read the cards and figure out for yourself if movement is, the direction is a big factor here, and use your intuition and sort of figure out, is the direction important or not? Most of the time it is, but another thing you can do if you come into that situation where all your cards are one direction or 90% of them are one direction, use reversals and let the cards sort of parse themselves out for you. And again, now we have a situation to where moving from an old to a new, because the direction has changed thanks to reversals. So reversals are pretty important, in my opinion, with card interactions, and I would definitely use those because, again, it can bring a completely different meaning to a reading when you are using reversals. And the last question that some people ask would be, if it's a reversal, does that mean they're not moving? And I would say no. I would say not moving. There's plenty of cards where you're not moving, right? Like half the deck is cards where you're not moving. So I think that we have a special situation when we have movement, and we should factor that into your reading and definitely use that to your advantage, because when you're moving, that's going to give you a lot of indication and a lot of syntax for the layout of the cards versus not moving. So again, plenty of cards where people aren't moving. So when you do see movement, even if it's reversed, I would just reverse the movement direction and keep moving. In other words, that would not negate the movement. I would keep your card interactions. If you have facings, so if they're facing this direction and then we turn it upside down, now they're facing the opposite direction. So reversals, I would always consider as the reversing the direction, but you still have that facing and you still have that movement. Now the next thing I want to talk about is involuntary movement, to where you're being forced out. So you could be forced out because there's a barrier, so you're being forced this direction. You're being dragged in a direction, or there's some significant big thing that's shoving you into this direction. But this is what I call involuntary movement. This is not something to where she wanted to go that way. It's something where she had to go that way. Again, not something where she wanted to, and again, something, a big event occurred and it's forcing her to move into this direction. So you could have this, for example, in a job reading to where you're being forced out of a job. So you have a job and everything was going well, but you're being sort of dragged away from it. Maybe you don't have time for that job anymore. Maybe you're short of time and now you don't have that job anymore, or the relationship or whatever. So you had a relationship, and the relationship, you're being dragged away from it. So maybe there's something occupying your time in this case here that's forcing you to do that, or whatever. Maybe you can't get enough sleep, it's taking too much of your time, so you're getting dragged away involuntarily from one situation to the next. Again, you could have reversals and you would read it differently. Now you're sort of getting forced or dragged into this new relationship, but maybe all you want to do is rest up and take a break from relationships in general. So that could be one of those things as well. So that is forced movement. There's plenty of cards in the Tarot in Wonderland, and there's a couple of cards in other decks as well. But you can definitely look for these. Again, Tarot in Wonderland is fantastic for doing some of these type interaction type things. So look for forced movement. Are they doing it voluntarily, or is there some situation that's shoving them into there when they don't want to be there? Involuntarism, is that a word? Involuntarily moving could be caused by a blockage. Maybe there's too much of something and it's just sort of weighing on them. It could be someone else involved that's dragging them away, or it could be some traumatic event that's forcing them to move. But either way, you have involuntary movement. So go through your cards and see if we have any involuntary movement in yours and what would be unique about them. One thing that's unique here, again, we have a blockage here and then we have a blockage here. So there's blockages in both of these, which I think is interesting. So that, my friends, is movement. I hope that this has been helpful, and I look forward to hearing about your readings where you see movement happening, and what are the effects of movement, and how does moving from one card to the next affect the other card. Could have a situation where the card was happy-go-lucky, the card was great, and then we have a movement into it, and then afterwards something else is caused by that movement. So definitely break out your cards and try some movement readings, and then post below in the comments when you have some great examples of movement. Maybe you have some unique things that you've noticed in your cards that are different than mine, etc. But hopefully this has been helpful. So if you like this video, please hit like and subscribe, and the next video will be out in a week or two, and I hope to see you there. This has been Card Interactions. This is my system of reading cards, and I believe this is part 6